Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lance here, and I want to talk to you about something serious today. The thing of it is, just like you see in my headline here, I'm going to talk with you guys about my battle with insecurities and body dysmorphia. It might sound silly to some people, but I honestly, there are a lot of people who I think whenever they get on a strategy call with me, or they've not read things that I've battled. I think it's easy for people to think that because I've been into fitness for this long, that somehow all insecurities have disappeared and that I don't struggle. The reality is that I've struggled a lot more lately over the last 6 or 7 months, and that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. There's a purpose. So the purpose of this is not for me to give the woe is me, this is how I feel, whatever. The purpose is I want to talk with you about something that I used to do incorrectly versus something that I do now that actually creates a little bit more life and a little bit more, I would say, I don't know, self-worth, or at least a little bit more of a better lens of how you see yourself. So the thing of it is that the reason I've struggled so much lately over the last 6 or 7 months, and again, this might sound silly to some people, and it might not. Some of you might be watching, going, "Wow, that's me," and I can relate to this. And even if you're in fitness, also, and if you are, let me know in the comments if you feel comfortable enough to do so. But the fact is that I struggled because I've lost a lot of lean body mass and I gained body fat since I learned this last year that I had a hernia. And the thing of it is that, for several months in my mind, the hernia was much worse than what it was. And so while I didn't quit working out because I wasn't necessarily in that danger zone, my mind was running wild with me. And so my intensity severely decreased. So because my intensity severely decreased, because I was so afraid to work out with vigor and intensity like I was prior to that, I started noticing that I wasn't getting bored necessarily with workouts, but I definitely was noticing that the outcome of my lacking my workouts and so on and so forth was starting to show. Not only was it because of the workouts, but also, this is just me being forthright here, because of the fact that I started to feel this like, man, I'm losing muscle, I'm losing size, and these are areas for me that have been areas of insecurity since I was younger. I started kind of having that mentality of, I'm not going to really track my food as much, and even though I know I need to, it's one of those things of, I'm working out much less, I'm going to have to recalculate my macros to figure out if I need to, I need less calories because I'm working out less. And it was honestly, what it really came down to was sheer avoidance. Bottom line, just being honest. I was avoiding the reality I was avoiding digging in to see what was what, simply because of the fact that there was fear and I was operating out of scarcity. The scarcity was, I'm losing muscle. I already feel like I'm, you start battling this, like my arms look smaller on the, on camera and all these things. And while that's not, again, I realize how vain and how silly some of that sounds, but it's not coming as one of those things of, oh, I hope people see this way or what have you. It more is one of these things of carrying insecurities forever that, that you never fully got rid of, and that kind of get, exacerbated through other times of stress. So my point is that with this, for me, it started bleeding into other areas. So because I couldn't lift with as much intensity, and I'm not talking lifting heavy and going crazy, but because of the fact that I couldn't do, some of my normal workouts, I started kind of having that, this sucks. And, oh man, I'm not, it just spiraled a little bit. And the next thing I knew is that I wasn't eating as well. I wasn't getting as much protein in because it was like, what's the point? It was just basically this limbo thing that I really coach my clients on how to not get into or how to get out of. And the fact is that I found myself in this. Now, it didn't get as bad as it used to, and it didn't get as bad as it could have. But the point here is that this isn't a sprint with what I'm doing. It's not a quick fix thing, but yet there are old habits, there are old mindsets that can come back up, even though that's something that I've worked on for a long time. So the point here that I'm making is that my self-worth is not my muscle, it's not my intellect, and it's not anything else related to performance. I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. But sometimes, because of old thermostat settings that say I'm still too skinny, I'm still too this, or I'm still not enough this, when I start having less intense workouts and then stop eating like I know that I need to, not eating for fuel and so on and so forth, that started bleeding into how I saw myself. I start feeling skinnier again. I start feeling, what's the point? Next thing that I knew, and this is why I decided to do this, because I wanted to be honest with you guys, because I was getting on camera the last several times. Today I don't feel as bad as I have, but again, I want to be honest. I was getting on camera, and every time, because I use my iPad, I've got my computer, that's where I check my notes and all this, and I use my iPad to view everything. And so I've got my viewfinder here that I'm looking at, and all I could notice as I'm talking and doing some of these videos was how thin my arms started looking. Now today they're a little bit fuller. I've been eating for a while, so on and so forth, but several days after my surgery of not eating well, 6 months of not working out as intensely enough, feeling like I lost size, I started feeling defeated. The old body dysmorphia habits and mindset started popping up just a little bit, and it started to, play a little bit of a role in how I was living my days. So I had a couple of choices. I can, start, convincing myself that it's not a big deal. I can try and, tell myself, well, as soon as I'm healed, I'm going to hit it harder than ever before. And I was doing that. But the real challenge wasn't any of those things. It was really a battle of mindset that I had to remind myself of what was true versus what I feel and perceive to be true. And so the fact is that I would remind myself of all the science. Number one, you don't lose muscle that quickly, and it doesn't happen like you think. And the fact is, I also know that simply by recalculating my my mindset and kind of getting back into the swing of things, I knew that this was not going to be a permanent thing. But the big caveat here was, for me, that I had to start facing the reality that I have some mindset work that I need to do, because I'm not going to let this run away with me and tear me down and take away from the progress that I make and that I will make again. So the point here is that when you go through these battles of insecurities, and I'm telling you as a 16-year veteran coach for 16 years. I was like, what's the year? 16 years of doing this. I have absolutely overcome a lot of things, but things still pop up, and I'm not above any of those. So the real key here is that many, many years ago, I would always try and solve these internal struggles that I'm describing with you with external solutions. So what this means is that rather than actually acknowledging the fact that this is a body dysmorphia issue, this isn't I got myself out of shape and, I gained 70 pounds and lost 30 pounds of muscle. I gained some body fat and then I lost a little bit of muscle, and already just being back in, I've only been lifting light, and already my body's already responding. I'm already feeling better. I wanted to get on here and tell you guys this actually the other day, but wasn't able to. But today I'm doing this because with even more hindsight, because of the fact that where I used to, I would have just completely wanted to feel sorry for myself and start, working harder in the gym and basically, reading things and trying to anything possible to get my mindset out of a place where I was feeling sorry for myself and into one of, I'm going to crush it as soon as I get back. Now, there are some mindset things there, but the problem is that I was focusing again on external solutions for my internal problems, and it doesn't work. The same premise is that we cannot solve long-term problems with short-term solutions. We can't solve internal problems with external solutions. And so my point is that my feeling of losing size or being this way or being that way was the problem, not the actual thing that I thought was occurring. So again, what I'm getting to is that you're going to have choices to make whenever you get in these mindsets, whether you're in a program or you're not in a program. And you can decide to start creating more external solutions for your external or for your internal problems, like I used to do, where you work out harder, you cut more calories, you avoid certain things, and you just punish yourself through things so that you don't feel this way again. That's an example of solving an internal problem with an external solution. Or you get into a book, you get around friends, whatever. I'm going to give you several different things. You get around friends that build you up and affirm what's true and remind you, hey, Lance, you got body dysmorphia. That's not real. How you see yourself on camera isn't real. You're slightly deflated. You're going to be right back in no time. The point here is that, again, I used to struggle so much with this principle. And now, even though this was a struggle, being able to start reflecting on the sciences of what's true so that you can, because again, sometimes your mindset says, you've lost muscle, you've done things that are impossible, actually. And then being aware of the science is one of my number one tools to remind myself that some of my feelings are just that, feelings, they're not real. And that prevents me from taking a hard right turn or a hard left turn out of my alignment of my goals. Because here's what some of my clients used to tell me that they did, and maybe you can relate. They would go through something like what I just did here, and they would start feeling defeated, and one of two things would happen. They would punish themselves by working out harder and, and mistreating themselves, tightening up the reins on everything, and so on and so forth, and being more rigid. Or they would feel defeated so much that they would sabotage severely, overeat, stop working out, basically just pump the brakes and hands off the wheel, and the next thing you know, we're pounding into a tree. Both of those things are equally destructive. The fact is that if, again, just not to beat a dead horse, but again, if you continue to chase external solutions to fix those internal problems, you're going to end up having that destruction as well. And I've been there. And you start making perfectionistic tendencies and habits that are not sustainable, that can make other people miserable that you're around because you're so hyper-focused and OCD seeming on things that you can't let go. And some of this ends up leading into a variation of narcissism because you're so focused on how you feel about you that you don't ever get the moment to consider how other people are around you and how they're doing. So the real solution here, rather than chasing some, new technique or strategy or punishment to make yourself do better when you're feeling like I felt, and maybe you just had a surgery, maybe there was a funeral, maybe maybe you got divorced and you got depressed for 6 months and you gained everything, and in your mind you're thinking, I've got to start over, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. Or you're just thinking like, I can't keep up with this, whatever your sensation of overwhelm. If you're focusing only on those external solutions, you're going to get more overwhelm and more destructive habits. If you begin working on both of them, you maintain your workouts, meaning that you're, whatever that looks like for you, I won't get into that, but you're doing the physical, you're doing the external things that move the needle for your goals, but you're also working on the internal, acknowledging areas of dissatisfaction, creating affirmations that remind you of who you are instead of how you feel you're supposed to be, and remind you that, again, you're not a human doing, you're a human being. And chasing more goals and chasing more things of perfectionism are going to lead to more of this feeling that you don't want. And that's what I did for years. I worked on my physique. I chased all kinds of things physically, hoping that eventually this feeling of body dysmorphia, this feeling of not being adequate enough, or feeling not big enough, not lean enough, not whatever enough, would eventually go away. It's never going to away if you're trying to fix, because it's an internal problem, an internal struggle, a battle of the mind, the heart, your thermostat. No amount of external solutions, working out, meal plans, amount of money, the most attractive women or men you can get, none of those things are going to solve these problems of your internal struggle unless you work on both the internal and external. And again, I've had other clients where they have the same internal struggle and external struggle, meaning that they have body dysmorphia issues, or maybe they have self-esteem issues or what have you, but they're also 60 or 70 or 80 pounds overweight. That is not an internal only struggle. If you're 60 or 80 pounds overweight, your battle is not one only of the mind, it is one of the body and the mind, and you need to work on both of those. So I don't want this to come off as if it doesn't, as if it means like you don't work hard and you don't chase goals and you don't work towards things. It's just simply put that you cannot solve a long-term problem with a short-term solution. You cannot solve an internal problem with an external solution only. So by focusing on the mindset, your habits, reprogramming your thermostat and your subconscious, now this is going to help you to remind yourself that you are a human being, that you are learning, you're more than enough, not because of your efforts, but because of who you are. So I hope that this resonates with you guys. I know that it's a little bit outside of the normal type of video that I do, but I really wanted to talk with you guys about this, and just to say that, yes, I've not completely mastered or eradicated my body dysmorphia. However, where it used to just completely sink my ship and cause me to get into these rigid perfectionistic roles, if I can communicate, now the difference is that I am able to be aware that it's nothing more than a mindset struggle. It's perception based on old, we're going to say old recordings. That's it. The old recordings of, Lance, you're so skinny. Lance, why aren't you this? Or Lance, why are you that? Those recordings are just that. They're recordings. They're not fresh. They're not truth. They're just old recordings. By working on your mindset, you're able to create new recordings that not only replace those, but will pretty much stop those in their tracks, so that no longer you're going to say, well, I've just always been the overweight one. I guess I'll just be the ugly one. I guess I'm just the C student. I guess I'm just fill in the blank. So it's up to you. I hope that this has inspired a little bit of a paradigm shift to begin focusing within. And I'm not talking about going esoteric, weird stuff. I'm talking about just simply focusing on, are my habits in alignment with my goals? Do I know what I want? Do I have habits that I really don't know how to break or overcome? Do I know that I'm doing all the things right before I beat myself and blame myself and say that I'm not enough and I'm still the same crappy person or whatever it is? Sometimes you just got to be careful about what you're saying about yourself, because you're reaffirming those fears that you had before. So I hope this helped. If you feel like this is of any value and it resonates at all, be sure to comment #value below. And if you feel comfortable, if this relates to you of any kind whatsoever, if you feel comfortable, send me a message and let me know what your story is, what you've battled. Have you battled with body dysmorphia like I have? Is it something that you have solutions for? Or is it something that you're going around that merry-go-round over and over and over again? Let me know, guys. See you soon.